I was talking to one priest one day, a friend of mine, and we were arguing, friendly arguing. He's a real friend of mine. And I said, Father, I know that in some parishes, like in your parish, Father, you do not welcome women wearing spaghetti straps. You don't like women wearing micro mini skirts. And my friend priest said, of course, this is a sacred place, And he's a friend of mine. He was hamming it up, He was exaggerating his, we're buddies, we're barkada. And I told him, but Father, what if a prostitute enters the church for the first time? What if? She's searching for God. She's crying. She's desperate. She enters the church and she says, maybe here I can find peace and joy and love. Maybe here God will forgive me. She enters the church, and the moment she enters the church, an usher comes and says, excuse me, but you're not welcome here. Your attire is not proper. You got what I'm saying? So I do believe that. I do believe that at least the older members of the church should wear proper clothes, But I think we should have an eye for people, for strangers, for people who need the love of God. You know what I'm saying? Somebody came up to me, this is my personal opinion. I'm sorry if I offend leaders who have different opinions, but this is my personal opinion, okay? Someone came up to me and said, Brother Bo, we're giving a Life in the Spirit seminar. Something like a Christian Life program. Something like that, we got all sorts of names, LSS, CLP, CLS, SSS, GSIS, we've got all these names. And, this person came up to me from another community, and she says, Brother Bo, there's this couple who's coming into our Life in the Spirit seminar, and you know what? They're not married. Oh my gosh, what should we do? We should tell them to go, right? And I said, what? You're not going to accept them? And she said, yes. If you're not going to accept them, who will? We are church. And the reason why we're church is we're going to mirror and reflect the love of God. Who will reach out to them? That's my personal opinion. I believe that church, spiritual families, we need to welcome the sinner. In our prayer meetings, I always tell people, prostitutes, please come in. Adulterers, please come in. Atheists, please come in. You're welcome. Corrupt government officials like senators and congressmen, please come in. We will love you and embrace you and make you part of our family. I love reading about this story. This happened here in the U.S. There's this small church, and the preacher would preach. They had this nice thing happening every Sunday. After the preacher would preach, he'd sit down, and then people can stand up and share. Well, one Sunday, after the pastor preached, he sat down, and there was this guy who came up to the front, holds the microphone, and he shocks everybody because he says, guys, I don't believe in God anymore. Some things happened to my life. I just don't. I just don't believe God exists. And then sits down. He just sits down. Everybody's like, and but what the church did? Nothing, absolutely nothing. They just went to him and greeted him and said, "Hi, brother, how are you?" That's it. And but he came the next Sunday, and he kept on coming every Sunday. And so the pastor was kind of like, he would greet the man and say, "Hi, hello, how are you? How's the family?" But then after a few months, he really zeroed in on the man and said, "Brother, I hope you won't be offended by my question. This is totally out of curiosity. Don't get me wrong, but my question is this: why are you still attending church if you do not believe in God?" And that man says, "Pastor, I feel loved here in your church. That's all. That's the reason why I keep coming." 3 years later, the man stands up in front of the church and the man says, "Friends, I now believe in God again." Amazing? The very tenet of why you are supposed to come to church, belief in God, was not there. He was already welcomed. Amen? Sometimes we reject people just because they don't dress right. Sometimes we reject people just because they don't attend our prayer meetings. He's an irregular member of our community. What should we do? Kick him out. He has no commitment. He's not tithing. Let's get him out. You know what I'm saying? But that church, they didn't kick out someone who does not believe in God. They didn't. They loved him. And that's what spiritual families are. You reach out to people and you say, "We're friends. We really are. We're family." Amen?